Hey, I'm DJ Sixsmith. You're watching Sit Down. Lucas here. Neve Campbell, Castle on the Ground, brand new movie. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. It's good to be talking to you, and really powerful movie. I really enjoyed your performance and a lot of really interesting stuff when it comes to addiction and it comes to terminal illness. So what was the appeal in terms of you jumping into this project?
Joey Klein, the filmmaker and writer, he had directed another piece called The Other Half. I hadn't been aware of his work before, but I watched his film once I'd been offered this script and just thought it was stunning. I thought the performances were fantastic and his storytelling was really, really well done. And when I read this script, it felt important and prevalent. It's just, the opioid addiction is a tough topic, but an important topic. And I thought that the script was harrowing, but well written.
What were some of the toughest challenges for you? Because it's like you have a great cast. Alex and Imogen are awesome in this, but what did you specifically want to focus on?
Well, for me, I think the dynamic between Alex, who plays my son, and myself was obviously going to be very important. It's sort of a catalyst for where he goes in the film. And for me as a mom of two boys, it was not difficult to put myself in the place of, it was difficult. It was emotionally difficult, but not difficult to imagine what would be to have to say goodbye to my children. So that was important to get right.
When you think about this movie, obviously a lot going on in the world right now. What do you think about the fact that people will be watching it now, given coronavirus going on? Obviously, these things still remain, given everything that's going on in the world.
Yeah, there had been a conversation. There'd been some apprehension about whether this was the right timing for this film. But I think it's absolutely the right timing. I think it's important to remember that there are people still suffering in other ways. I think this is already an isolating illness, addiction, isolating and scary and health-wise very challenging, obviously. So at a time like this, during the COVID pandemic, it must be 10 times as difficult. So I think it's really important for us to have empathy and to remember that there are people out there who are really, really scared right now, and to see what we can do to help.
Yeah, whether it's addiction or what we're going through with coronavirus, this sense of desperation, no matter what you're dealing with, like this movie kind of hits on that, and I think that people can connect with that, and it really doesn't matter what time it ultimately happens. So I'm glad you guys are rolling this out, and I'm sure it's interesting for you because you've been doing movies for a long time. What's it been like on this journey and just like evolving with the industry as you've gone along?
You mean in the business itself, doing this?
Yeah, in the business itself, just in terms of like, going back to the 90s with Scream and what you were doing then compared to the stuff you're doing now.
I've been really, really lucky with the work that I've gotten. I'm a hard worker, but I also know that it's right time, right place. And, I've just, from the beginning, been very lucky with Party of Five being the quality that it was, and then the Scream films and the craft and, on and on. I've just had great projects come my way, and I'm just grateful for them. I'm constantly learning. I think that's the beauty of being an actor, is that you're never going to be perfect. You can always get better. You can always grow. I think it's really important to be inspired by people. I went and lived in London for 9 years, and that was a magical experience. I saw a lot of theater, worked with a lot of great actors and directors, and I love this business. And I'm grateful that I'm still going because it's not easy,
Yeah, Party of Five was definitely a big one for you. So where were you at in your career prior to that, and how did it sort of change things for you?
Well, I was very young. I started out as a classical ballet dancer. Actually, I was a professional dancer before I was an actor. My first job was Phantom of the Opera when I was 15 years old. And then I worked with a couple of dance companies, and then started doing some TV in Canada, and, flew to LA on a whim, basically, to see a friend and maybe see if I could get a manager or agent. And, was one of those really lucky ones where it only took 2 auditions, and then I got Party of Five, and then it just, went. So yeah, really grateful for those odds.
Do you ever wonder what life would have looked like if you kept going with the dancing situation?
I would be retired. I'd be in a lot of pain. I'd be in a wheelchair. No, I don't know. In a sense, I have to say I was lucky that I was injured early. It's a really tough life. I loved it. It is my great love. but it is not easy. And for me, it specifically, it wasn't easy on my body. So it would have been super challenging had I continued. And I was lucky to have acting sort of fall my way. My dad was a drama teacher. My grandparents had a theater company in Amsterdam. Two of my brothers are actors. So it was obviously in the blood and around me. And I was lucky to have something else creative that I could fall in love with.
That's awesome. And then obviously the projects followed suit. So when you think about the Scream movies, like what are you most proud of when you think back on those?
I got to work with Wes Craven, I mean, he is just a brilliant director and a great guy. And, we knew it was a great script. It's not often you pick up a script and you can't put it down until you get the end, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to become anything. And we were just lucky that the people liked the films to such a great level, and that all the right entities came together to make it a good film. So I'm very proud. I'm very proud to be a part of that cast and those films. And there's a possibility we might be doing another one. They've approached me for another one, and we'll see. And who knows when we can get back to work, but it's a possibility.
That's awesome. Another one people liked was House of Cards, and like your character jumps in there later on. Like that's not an easy thing to do. That show's established, characters already established. What was the toughest part of jumping into that one?
I was so excited. I mean, I was so excited to get that job because I was such a fan of the show already. Intimidating for sure, because all of those actors are so talented. And like you said, they'd established themselves in such a wonderful way. But the writing, I mean, Beau Willimon is such a talented writer that it wasn't difficult to get the tone and to find something fun to do with it. I had a blast on that show.
Yeah, and your character kind of staked her claim early on, so I'm sure you were just able to roll right into that one pretty easily.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So when people check out your movie, Neve, what are some big thoughts you want them to take away thinking?
I think Joey Klein is really great at creating interesting, fully rounded characters who are going through big things. You're certainly going to be taken for a ride. You're certainly going to learn how easy it is to fall into addiction for people. It's a very, very slippery slope. I hope what people take from it is how quickly that can happen, and that it truly can happen to anyone. I think, people think, oh, that problem is over there. That's, they have this term junkie, which I think is such a derogatory term. This could happen it could happen to anyone. You have pain, you take something, and then you just can't stop taking it. It's that simple. So I think it's really important for people to realize how strong these drugs are and to be very, very careful and empathetic to those who are addicted.
And I think movies like this will help in changing the conversation, not only with the language, but overall with the empathy. So glad you guys did it. Thanks so much for hanging out, Neve, and we'll talk to you down the road, all right?
Thank you so much. Thank you.